The 2025 NBA Finals are here. A new champion will be crowned. On one side, we have the young guns from Oklahoma who have won 80 games before reaching 20 losses. The Thunder are trying to be the youngest team in league history to win a championship, and they have earned the right to be here by going to war with some of the toughest teams out west. Then on the other side, we have the underdog, the sleeper, the dark horse, the team I foolishly thought would lose in round one, the Indiana Pacers. They were not supposed to be competing for their first championship, but their squad has run through these playoffs like a well-oiled machine, pulling off upset after upset. Will they ever be picked as favorites? Today we are going to break down the postseason run of these two teams, talk about their strengths and weaknesses, compare some head-to-head matchups, and do our best to predict who will ultimately come out on top. Before we get started though, please do me a big favor and like the video, as it helps me out far more than I think you guys realize. These sort of videos don't usually do well in the algorithm, so your contribution really does make a big difference. And subscribe for more basketball related content. I am trying to hit 1 million subscribers before the Larry O'Brien Trophy is listed, so let's make that happen. Oklahoma City opened up the postseason with a bang, absolutely annihilating the Memphis Grizzlies by a combined 70 points in their first two matches, but experienced their first punch in the mouth in the first half of Game 3. Then, thanks in part to an injury to Memphis's Ja Morant, they regained control in the second half and went on to win the series in a clean sweep of 4 games. This was fun for them, I am sure, but it was round 2 where they grew some hair on their chest as they went to battle with the defending MVP Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. Here, they were forced to dig deep and play through adversity, as every game led to headlines upon headlines about who the real MVP was, Jokic versus Shea. It must have been tough to block out the noise and focus on the game at hand, but they pulled it off. After an embarrassing Game 3 debacle, then dropping Game 6 in Denver, they entered a do-or-die Game 7 at home. Here, OKC played with the poise well beyond their years, dismantling the Nuggets in front of the world, proving they deserved to be where they were. And most recently, they entered the conference finals as light favorites, but it was a very trendy pick to bet on Minnesota to win. A young potential face of the league, Anthony Edwards, was their last test, and though they figuratively stubbed their toe in Game 3, they were the far and away better team in the other 4 matches, taking the Western Conference title. Meanwhile, Indiana had a very different route to the top, playing a lot of their games on secondary networks early on, as they were not brought up much by any big media talking heads. People joked online they could be the first team to win a championship on ESPN3 due to the Indiana Fever having a game that day. But they have gone on a journey that is deserving of respect. Starting in round 1, they ran the Milwaukee Bucks out of the gym, frustrating the former MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo like no other. That Game 5 overtime victory had plenty of drama that caught everyone's eyes. But of course, the Bucks were without Damian Lillard for a good chunk of that series. Indy was just lucky, is what people said. They were surely to meet their maker in round 2 as they went up against the winningest team in the East, the Cleveland Cavaliers. But that did not happen. From the jump, Indiana was the better team as they embarrassed the Cavs in front of their home fans on 3 separate occasions, taking the series in 5. Stunning Ohio, but at the same time going largely under the radar due to the other Eastern Conference semifinal taking place. In the conference finals, the Pacers matched up with the New York Knicks, mainstream media's darling of the East, who had just upset the defending champion Boston Celtics. This was supposed to be their long-awaited return to the finals, but Indiana did not roll over for them. As they did to Cleveland, Indy stunned New York, taking 2 matches in front of their home fans, including one of the most improbable late-game comebacks the playoffs have ever seen. Though New York punched back, Indy was able to finish them off in 6, clinching their ticket to the 2025 NBA Finals. And that brings us to today. OKC has definitely been the better defensive team throughout the postseason. In their 16 playoff games, they have maintained a defensive rating of 106, the best of any team in the playoffs. They have 5 guys averaging at least a steal a night, highlighted by the team's grandpa, the 30-year-old Alex Caruso. And on the interior, Chet Holmgren has looked as good as all the scouts have hoped, as he has been protecting the rim to the tune of 2 blocks per game. They are really good on this end, 1 through 5, starters through reserves. They allow the 7th fewest free throws, force the 4th worst 3-point shooting, and the 2nd worst inside the arc shooting of the playoffs. There is no easy look against OKC. They also do an excellent job with not turning over the ball, as they only gave up 11 per game, the fewest of any team in the postseason. While on the other end, they forced the most at a staggering 18 per game. And again, they went through some good teams to get here, but their defense is just suffocating. Non-point guards are going to have a nightmare trying to get the ball up the floor, which will put a lot of strain on Tyrese Halliburton and TJ McConnell as they get turned over and over again every possession. Indiana, though, is not chopped liver. Believe it or not, they have been the better offensive team throughout these playoffs. Their offensive rating of 118 ranked 2nd amongst the 16 teams. They also match OKC's foul baiting pretty well, as both sides shoot 24 free throws per 100 possessions. But Indiana has the clear edge with shooting, as they ranked 2nd in 2s and 1st in 3-point shooting with a crazy good 40% team average through their 16 games. OKC's is a much more pedestrian 33%. Both of these teams play at a crazy fast pace of nearly 100 possessions per 48 minutes. This is thanks in large part to how deep their teams are. You always hear about how NBA rotations shrink come playoff time, but OKC and Indy beg to differ. Both sides have 9 guys getting more than 10 minutes per game, and between the two, only 6 total players averaging more than 30 minutes per game. These games at times look like a drag race, constantly sprinting up and down the floor, picking up the ball handler beyond half court, constantly throwing outlet passes. These two coaching staffs have found the style that best suits their guys, even if it defies conventional basketball postseason strategy, and stuck to it. When looking at the head-to-head, the matchups are really interesting. The 2025 MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has had his moments, but for the most part has been disappointing shooting the ball, hitting only 30% of his threes. But beyond that, he has been dazzling, carving up defenses for layups, drawing fouls, or hitting his teammates on cuts or kick-out threes. Shai has worked very hard and maintained a very level head all postseason long. Of course, Tyrese Halliburton is doing the same thing effort-wise and mentality-wise. Though not the scorer Shai is, Halliburton has had his moments putting up big numbers, but does most of his damage as a playmaker for others, as he leads the entire playoffs in assists per game at nearly 10. Halliburton has been just as good a ball handler as Shai, leading to an even greater accuracy on his inside shots, as well as putting up terrific defensive numbers of his own. I think it's funny how neither point guard was considered a 5-star recruit back in high school, because they lacked the explosive athleticism Americans are convinced they want, but when the time comes to actually play ball, these are the two remaining. Off ball, we have Jalen Williams versus Ryan Nembhard, a matchup that most people would probably pick a favorite in without much hesitation, but all playoff long, Nembhard has been the more reliable producer, as he has shot the ball at a stellar 48% clip from deep to go along with his 1.6 steals per game. J-Dub is no pushover, but he has had his fair share of duds throughout OKC's run, leading to his long-range accuracy to sit at a lowly 31%. Defensively though, he has always been dependable. The small forward position mirrors the shooting guards pretty well. Lou Dort is one of the most polarizing defensive bulldogs in the league. Some love him for his strength, IQ, and effort, others hate him for his physical play that at times turns dirty. But offensively, Dort has been very underwhelming, shooting only 30% from deep. Nesmith, meanwhile, has arguably been a better defensive player, racking up 2 stocks per game. Plus, without a doubt, he is the most electric shooter in the playoffs, making 50% of his 5 threes a night. He appears to have entered his flow state, and Dort will have his work cut out for him throwing him off. Moving to the big forward, we have the defensive player of the postseason, in my opinion, Chet Holmgren versus the Swiss Army knife, Pascal Siakam. Chet's offensive impact has come and gone as he does not get as many touches as Siakam reliably gets, but he has been dependable finishing around the rim, and he can knock down the long ball here and there. Siakam obviously produces more offensively, doing work on all three levels, shooting a stellar 46% from deep, 77% within 3 feet, and nearly 50% from the mid-range. These two will be a lot of fun to keep an eye on throughout this series. And the man in the middle, we have the ringer Isaiah Hartenstein versus the decade-long pacer Miles Turner. Hart is the glue guy in Oklahoma. He does the little things that don't show up in the box score on both ends, finishing rolls to the rim here and there, and dishing dimes to his teammates. Turner, meanwhile, is a monster both off and on the stat sheet. His 40% long ball and 60% two-point shot have been deadly, and defensively he has racked up over 2 blocks per game, the most of anyone in the playoffs not named Zach Edey. Turner waited 9 years to make the conference finals. Then he took a step further in year 10. He is hungry for a title, and you know Indiana fans want to see him get that ring more than anything. And of course, the key sixth man on each side has to be the veteran guards Alex Caruso versus TJ McConnell. Both longtime pros were signed to their teams for times like this. They are dependable voices to calm their teams down during a run by their opponents. They are both guys who can bring the ball up the floor while their stars rest, and they are both well known for their defensive impact on the perimeter. I think these two will be in the middle of many exciting plays in the finals, and though they won't score very much, their impact will have a profound sway on who comes out on top. And now it is time to pick a winner. I don't want to see either side lose, and I'm going to feel really silly picking Indy to fall again. But if I had to bet money on it, I would say Oklahoma City will win the championship in 5 games. Of course, Indy has been on a tear that cannot be ignored. It would not shock me to see them somehow come out on top. In fact, I am probably going to be rooting for them because I just can't help but support the underdog when my favorite teams are not involved. But regardless of who wins, I am incredibly excited to see these teams go to battle, and I hope you guys are too. Thank you all for watching the video all the way to the end. Please let me know who you have winning down in the comments, and subscribe for more basketball related content. This summer I'm going to be covering the NBA draft, plus free agency, as well as the FIBA Continental Championships, and who knows what else. So if you are a fan of basketball, please stick around. I will see you all next time.